Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Hare Krishna, welcome everyone. So we had a good start. Hope to continue in the same mood. So let's chant Mangalacharan. Om Jnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padikamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavansha Shri Rupam Sadvijatam Sahegana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahegana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusate Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Taribhascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Everyone can see my screen? Hopefully, yes. Okay. So start from 3:14. Vijay, Gopi, Mataji, and Rasanand Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Any one of you would like to do 3:14?
Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
I can do 3:14. Thank you. All living bodies subsist on food grains which are produced from rains. Rains are produced by performance of yajna, sacrifice, and yajna is born of prescribed duty. Okay, Prabhu, this verses 14, 15, and 16 are talking about the cycle of sacrifice. So in that, it's referring to, everyone are dependent on grains. Anna is refers to your grains or food. So Bhutani is referring to all living entities. So Bhavanti. So for all the living entities, depending on these food grains, actually they are coming from rains, Parjanyat. So where the rains, the grains coming due to the rains. And how the rains are coming? It is due to the sacrifice. Sacrifice, that is yajna. So the rains are coming due to the sacrifice. So the sacrifice is depending on refers to how the prescribed duties. How someone do a prescribed duty, that refers to the karma here.
Yes.
So and the sacrifice is the yajna.
Yes.
So this is what these 5 factors are defined in this verse.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Very nice. Prabhu has given translation of every single word. Thank you. And this is the chart which we discussed last week. Obviously, a part is covered in verse 14, a part is covered in verse 15. Thank you, Prabhuji. While we are there, maybe Vijay Gopi Mataji, would you like to do next one?
Yes. Regulated activities are prescribed in the Vedas, and the Vedas are directly manifested from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Consequently, the all-prevailing transcendence is eternally situated in acts of sacrifice. So here, Brahma refers to Vedas.
Mataji, your voice is not so clear.
Sorry, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
So here karma, Brahma refers to Vedas. So and Shara is like fallen. It is Akshara is supreme Brahman, and Shara is always, it's like, fallen, and whereas Akshara is doesn't fall, like who is Krishna himself. And here it refers like Vedas comes from Narayan. So these regulated activities, they are in Vedas, and these Vedas are directly provided by Lord Sri Krishna, like Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so it is directly samudbhavam, which it says it's directly manifested from Krishna. So that's why, like Vedas, I mean the regulated activities which are prescribed in the Vedas. Sorry, Prabhu, I'm not very clear.
No.
This is part of the cycle. Like once we Vedas, the Vedas come from the Supreme Lord. So in the Vedas, it is all the prescribed duties are given, and by doing the prescribed duties, we get the rain, like that a sacrifice, and then because of the sacrifice, we get the rain, and because of the rain, we get the food grains, and that food grains is taken by all the living entities, like the bhutas. So that grains helps to maintain the bhuta, that is body of all the living entities. So that is how the cycle goes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not very clear.
No, Mataji, you're clear. Very nice. You have broken all the words and explained everything. That's nice. If anyone wants to add anything, please do, because many times we discuss other points as well. So, but this section here, anyone remembers this section here, what this section is talking about? So let's look at this guide. I always like to prefer this.
Karma Kanda.
So Karma Kanda, thank you, Prabhuji. What does Karma Kanda mean, Prabhu? In layman's language?
When you do something in anticipation of getting some rewards. So you do a puja, you do bhakti of any demigod with regards to receiving some benefits, material benefits.
Material benefit, that's important here. So benefits, we can also seek some benefits from Krishna, but when we seek material benefits from these material higher entities, then it's under Karma Kanda, but they're all written in Vedas. So they are not out of the dharma cycle, they are within dharma cycle. And people do it, and that's fine within that perspective. So as Prabhuji said, so we are looking from Karma Kanda to Karma Yoga. So this section we are looking at the last verse here in this section, 316, will tell about the chakra cycle. 316, Sakhi Radhika Mataji, Hare Krishna. I think you are not there in the last class, Mataji, right? Yeah. Okay, no problem, no problem. Nidhi Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I was also not in the class last week.
No problem. Mahavasu Prabhuji. You are on mute, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, so we'll go to text number 16. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes,
you understand chakra? Okay. So Krishna says, my dear Arjuna, one who does not follow in the human cycle, the cycle of sacrifice thus established by the Vedas, certainly lead a life full of sins, living only for the satisfaction of the senses. Such a man lives in vain. So it is evam pravartitam chakram. That means the things that are established by the Vedas. So all the prescribed duties that any person is doing, that is including Karma Kanda, they actually all are born out of the Vedas. It is prescribed in the Vedas, right? And then there is a cycle of actually receiving the benefits and then offering it to the Supreme Lord. So that's how the chakra is. The reason the chakra is that if we follow this, that means we are at least following the basic level of karma, which is at least doing Karma Kanda. Wherein Karma Kanda is all about we do some offering, sacrifice to please the God, and then we actually get the benediction return, and then whatever that we receive, that we again have to offer it to the Lord. So with this process, we are actually out of the, like, you are liberated from the reactions of the work. That is one thing. When we offer it to the Supreme Lord.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
That's what that's the difference. Okay. When
which
you
is
offer it
not
to Supreme
mentioned
Lord,
as yet. Which is not mentioned as yet.
Yes.
You were just
So
talking a cycle here, which is like give a sacrifice to the higher being and then get something back.
right now, if we don't do it, that means whatever we are doing is for Indriya Arama, right? That is, we are actually satisfying the senses if you're not offering it to the Supreme Lord, right? And what happens? Because we are actually doing Indriya Arama, which is actually an activity that is actually useless, because eventually it is only going to cause us, what do you say, attraction in sense gratification, and will lead to hellish life. So that's how Prabhupada says that such a life is life in vain. That is actually waste of life. Having a life where you only enjoy, you do all that only to satisfy your senses, but don't offer it to the Supreme Lord, then we actually take the reactions of it, which is actually going to the hellish lifestyle.
Thank you, Prabhuji. And the word used here is moga.
Is moga, yes.
Refers to in vain or waste.
In vain, waste.
We'll reuse the word. Krishna will reuse the word in future chapters 9, 13. Or aghayur. Just one more word is also given here. So agha ayu. Agha ayu. So ayu refers to age and agha refers to agasur, path. So he is living basically a sinful life. If he just, although he may think I'm living a very karmkandic life, but actually he's living a sinful life, because Krishna is now looking at from the bigger perspective. Okay, let's move to the next one. 317. Mataji, would you like to do?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Maybe you can tell about the section and then the verse, if that's okay.
Prabhuji. So 17 to 24 verse in the chapter 3, Krishna, this is talking about karma yoga, performing the prescribed duties, prescribed work in detachment, to set an example. So this section in here, Krishna talks about the description of the position of a self-realized person in relation to work.
Yep.
So the verse, it says, the translation, but for one who takes pleasure in the self, whose human life is one of self-realization, and who is satisfied in the self only, fully satiated, for him there is no duty. So three words that you mentioned last week is very important. It is Atma Ratir, Atma Triptas, and Santushtas. Santushtas. So basically these three words are describing being satisfied.
Qualities.
Or the qualities of the being satisfied. So here the verse, the translation is talking about, Prabhuji explaining, is that this person who is taking pleasure in the self, whose life is oneself or self-realization, and who's satisfied in the self only, fully satiated. For him there is no duty. So basically this person, he doesn't have any other duties to perform because he's already satisfied. So for him, so this is talking about jnana level.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you. So that word is important. So we are talking here in the Karma Yoga section, a person who is on the jnana level, because a person in the jnana level is self-satisfied, as Mataji said, Atma Ratir, Atma Traptas, and Atma Santushtas. So three qualities are given. Now, if we compare to our situation, just a little comparison, are we Atma Ratir? Do we take pleasure in the self? We take pleasure in nice prasadam, looking at nice objects, hearing nice music, going to places which we like, and all those things. So we are not Atma Ratir. Atma Trapta, definitely not.
You're not satisfied.
We are with the cake trapta or pizza trapta and all those things. Huh? We need to trap, and then we overeat. Atma Santushtas, we are never satisfied by ourselves. And that's why many times we are frustrated. So it's not a comparison between Bhakti Yogi and Jnana Yogi. We're talking a simple comparison between a normal person. So this person actually is relishing in his own inside world. Now, we are not talking anything here at this stage, his relation with the absolute truth, right? But he is still a very high level. He's on a level of jnana. He is taking pleasure in the self. It's pretty high. If you are on that level, tasya karyam na vidyate. If you're on that level, karyam na vidyate. Karyam here refers to the duties. You don't have any obligations or duties towards others. Why we have duties? Because we take from others. If I take some help from my friend, it's my duty to return him back. If I take anything from anyone, it's my duty. I'm obliged. I take from demigods, I take from Mother Earth, I take from my parents, from my family, from so many of my friends. So it's my duty. I give them back something. But because this person is not taking, that's why he doesn't have duty. So this talking this level here. Next, go to 318. So the thoughts will continue. Similar, more qualifications are given. Ujjwal Rasa Mataji or Akhand Rasa Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
A self-realized man has no purpose to fulfill in the discharge of his prescribed duties, nor has he any reason not to perform such work, nor has he any need to depend on any other living being. So this verse is talking about self-realized person again. So the person who has realized the self, he has no purpose, which is artha. So it says no artha means na artha, and for the discharge of his duty, which is kritena. And also he does not have any reason, again artha, the purpose, there is no purpose to perform such a work. Also he does not need to depend, so he does not have to vyapashrayah, he doesn't have to take shelter of any bhuteshu, of all sarva bhuteshu. So he does not need to take shelter of any living beings. So these are the three things that have been mentioned. But Krishna is saying that in spite of all this, a self-realized person has, even though he's on a jnana level, he has to do his duties.
Yeah, and the word here uses na akritena. So if you read in the synonyms, akritena, na akritena. So kritena is to do, akritena is not to do. Na kritena means there's no reason for not doing the activity. So because he's far beyond than the normal person, he doesn't have any duties to perform. So it's the same, because he is in such a level, he does not have any reason for not doing his duty, because doing or not doing, if both are same, Krishna is saying, rather you do it rather than not doing it. So na akritena is the word. Question. Although he doesn't have any duty to do something, at the same time, nor has he any reason for not performing such a work. And then Krishna sort of concludes in 319 his thoughts. Akhand Rasa Prabhu. Prabhuji, you're on the mute.
Sorry, bro.
That's okay.
319, translation. Therefore, without being attached to the fruits of activities, one should act as a matter of duty, for by working without attachment, one attains the Supreme. So in this verse, Krishna is recommending do the work. So basically, he's recommending work over non-work. So he's saying that do your duties or work without attachment. So do it in a detached consciousness. So perform all your duties without attaching to anything, without being attached to anything. So here some of the words are asakta, that is detached. Asakto is
same word, Prabhuji. Asakta is same. Asakta is attached.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, that's what it is recommended.
Yeah. So thank you, Prabhuji. So if we just read it by, so tasma, therefore is like a concluding thoughts from 17 and 18. Therefore, what you should do, asaktaha satatam. Satta means constantly, asakta means being detached. Karyam, karma refers to prescribed duty. Samachar is engaged. So you should engage yourself in your prescribed duty. How you should do that? Asaktaha. It says the activity is not differentiated between a jnani and a karmi or a karmakandi even. It's the consciousness, even for the sake of bhakti yogi. We all do similar activity, which looks same, but the consciousness by which we do the activity, that refers, and that defines the result. It's not the activity which defines the result. Sannyasi is also eating, I'm also eating, a karmi person is also eating, we all are eating, same activity. But a sannyasi is eating for honoring the prasad, for the pleasure of the Lord. He's eating with that consciousness. I may be eating prasad, but oh, I like this, that's why I'm eating it. A karmi is eating because he's hungry. He has nothing to do with the offering or any other those activity. So activity does not define the result. By the consciousness we do the activity, that defines the result. So here saying, what should be your consciousness? Asaktaha. And when you should be asaktaha? Satatam, constantly. And satatam can also be attached with karya and karma. So not few activities you should do with that consciousness. Satatam, all the activities we should do always with being asaktaha, being unattached. Asakto hi acharan karma. So what should be your consciousness? Asakta. Again, 2 times is being repeated. That means it's a very important word. Param up. And what will be the result if you do that? Param apnoti purusha. So purusha refers to the Supreme Lord here. Apnoti refers to obtaining, attaining, and param refers to the Supreme Person will be attained if you work in this consciousness of being asaktaha, unattached. Sakhi Mataji.
Prabhuji, in a Grahast ashram, how to understand, or is there a principle by which from what can we, like, how to understand that we have to be detached from this thing? Because the mind plays, oh, we are doing it for the service of the devotees, we are doing it for the service of the Lord, but subtly sometimes attached to the result, or subtly, I don't know how to put it, but how to, like, if there is a principle or a checkpoint, it will become easier to at least differentiate.
Yes, thank you, Mataji. Very nice question. So we're talking about being unattached, but in Grihastha life, being practically, we become attached. I just remember one incident of Prabhupada. One Prabhupada disciple asked Srila Prabhupada that, Prabhupada, sometimes I fall in Maya. So Prabhupada said to this person, actually, you're always in Maya. Sometimes you rise up to Krishna consciousness. So actually, the same principle we can apply. Actually, we are always attached. Sometimes we are detached. So the answer to that is it's a journey. It's not something like a digital button. Now you're certified as devotee just because you're initiated or you're chanting 16 rounds. You got a mala. You got a new name. Things won't change, overnight. It's a journey, but it's a journey which we accompany with wonderful devotees and the scriptures. And when we act under the shelter of our devotees and the Shastra, Guru Sadhu and Shastra, slowly things move. I was speaking to His Holiness Bhakti Samrat Maharaj. He was saying, I was just talking about this effects of Krishna consciousness, which we read in Shastra. They are so wonderfully described, but when we look in our personal life, very difficult to follow. Maharaj said again, same point. He said, it's a long journey. One more answer Maharaj gave, which I would like to share. He said, also many times, as Maharaj said, out of humility, we are improving, but we don't realize it. And he gave a very practical example of that. He said, if you're sitting on a flight from here to India, for example, the flight is moving for around 1,000 kilometers an hour. But when you're sitting in a flight, in an aisle seat or a window seat, you feel you're not moving at all. But actually your journey is happening from A to B. It's happening. But because we are conditioned for so many lifetimes, change is not very visible. So change is happening, is definitely happening, but we don't realize it. And maybe it's not happening. And one more reason, actually, I remember I was listening to one lecture. He said, maybe change is not happening because of our offensive attitude as well. When we commit so many offenses towards other devotees, change actually does not happen. Many times we are humble and many times we don't realize. One more thing Prabhupada said, one devotee asked, Prabhupada, how do we know when we are advancing in Krishna consciousness? Advancing is, again, we are adopting these qualities very nicely, practically on a day-to-day basis. Prabhupada gave different answers. One answer Prabhupada gave at one occasion, he said, others will let you know. So other devotees will let you know whether you are advancing, whether you are following the principles nicely or not. One time Prabhupada said, you will know yourself when you're advancing. So many times our heart is satisfied. And I think all of us would have experienced, maybe slightly, sometime we do something nice for Krishna. We feel a satisfaction, a pleasure in our heart, maybe momentarily, maybe for 5 minutes or something. And many times we are in the heart not satisfied, many times, because we may have got angry at some other person or a devotee. We may have broken some rules ourselves. We are feeling guilty because of that. So our heart actually tells many things many times. But again, you can't listen to heart all the time, but sometimes we feel a sort of satisfaction. It's so nice. Krishna consciousness is so nice. I don't need so many other things. I don't need things. I don't need person. I don't need this and that. It's just so nice to be with Krishna and his devotees and kirtan and katha. Many times we feel that. So Prabhupada said, you will know when you're advancing. So it's just a mixture of different things. We just have to keep up with our sadhana consistently. Again, try not to become independent, because as soon as you become independent, independent in the sense, go out of the radar of Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. When we think I'm eligible, I'm great, that time actually we have lost Krishna in our hand. Is that okay, Mataji? Yeah, thank you.
Yes, Prabhu, thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Vijay Gopi, Mataji, or Rasakananda Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Just I wanted to add one point, Prabhu, to
Yes,
what you
please.
said. I just reading in that book, On the Way to Krishna, Prabhupada explains an analogy that, as you already said, that a person himself will know whether he is advancing or not. Prabhupada gives the analogy of a hungry man.
Yes.
If a hungry man, he will know if his hungry is satisfied or not, his hunger is satisfied or not.
Yeah, thank you.
That's
very,
very,
very nice. Yeah, I read that actually in Srimad Bhagavatam as well. Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. It's very nice example. When you are hungry, you know you are hungry, and when you are full, you know. Someone doesn't have to, sort of measure it from outside. You will know. Okay, thank you. I'm enough. Done. Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Very nice example.
Hare Krishna,
Yeah.
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Prabhu, just one clarification. Like, even though we are mentioning it's a Jnani level who's actually who has nothing to do, perform any duty based on what we had read. But even a Dhyana yogi also falls on a similar platform, right? Because in the chapter 6, I think somewhere it mentioned like yoga ruda and yoga ruksha stage. Like
yes.
When a person is in dhyana samadhi, that stage, he is also like cessation of activities is considered as he has advanced. So they are also relishing in the self
Yes.
as atma.
Yes.
Santa. So can be extended to dhyana yogi as well?
Yes, Prabhu. So the Dhyana Yogi, basically what he's relishing in the self, because it says in 6 chapters, as a part of Dhyana Yogi, his target is to meditate on Paramatma. He is not reciprocating with Paramatma. That's the difference between a Dhyana Yogi and a Bhakti Yogi. In Bhakti Yoga, we reciprocate. For example, a simple one, Krishna is hungry, let's make some bhoga and offer. Now, Dhyana Yogi is not doing that. He understands Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the form of a Vishnu, and he's meditating in that form. In the meditation, definitely, he's doing a samadhi, which is the 8th stage, and he's fully satisfied in that. So, Prabhu, what was the sort of purpose of that question?
I think earlier we were discussing those 3 characteristics, right, Prabhu?
Yes, of a Jnana Yogi. Yes, in the 317. Yes, Prabhuji.
So
he's
I'm just
relishing on Atma. Yes.
So it's also applicable for a Jnana Yogi, right?
Prabhu, there is a slight differences there, and we'll read the difference in the 6th chapter. But Jnana Yogi, for example, in general, is just meditating on the Atma, and he many times considered Atma as Paramatma. We'll read that in 9th chapter as well, Prabhu. What's the difference between Brahmavadi and Mayavadi? So we cannot just put everyone under a single umbrella. Dhyana Yogi, especially in a real Dhyana Yoga, he's meditating on Vishnu. Where Jnana Yogi may not be necessarily doing that. He may be a Brahmavadi or he may be a Mayavadi. Mayavadi means he is considering himself as good as God. So there are subtle differences, Prabhu.
Sure.
Yeah. So at the moment, we can refer self from 317 perspective to Atma only, not Paramatma. Yeah. But he is relishing the self, which is also true. It's better than doing the sense gratification. He's relishing the self, but he has no active relationship with the Lord at this stage. Prabhupada writes in 6th chapter, unless he get the association of devotees, then they can advance further. We'll talk about the yoga ladder when we reach there.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhupada. Okay, 319 is done. 320, the last verse. So last verse is basically telling the examples of what Krishna has discussed so far. Rupam Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Sumit Prabhu's hand is up. Maybe.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see that. Your hand sometimes gels with the background. Sorry, Prabhuji.
Change the color.
Change the color. Okay.
Yes, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Sorry, Prabhuji, in the same when you were mentioning about the one who takes pleasure in the self, Prabhuji. So I just wanted to understand it more in terms of like how can one take a pleasure in self. We can only take pleasure in self when we are considering that Atma is Paramatma. But with the Paramatma, we can take a pleasure. But with Atma, not considering it as a Paramatma, how can we take a pleasure? Or maybe I haven't experienced. I don't. Could you elaborate, Prabhuji?
Yeah. Okay. I'll go a little bit here because this will discuss probably a little bit more in the 6th chapter. It's not a part of the 3rd chapter. Okay. But yes. So Mataji, many so-called spiritualists in the world, they consider Brahman as the topmost, not Krishna or Vishnu or Lord Ram like that. They also consider, as per their consideration, Krishna and Ram is lower than the Brahman. Although Bhagavad Gita clearly will establish the truth in 14th chapter, Brahmano hi pratisthaham. So I am the source of the Brahman as well. Anyway, regardless of the arguments from Bhagavad Gita, they consider they are also God. One person went to Prabhupada in the class, and after a class of 30-40 minutes, Prabhupada said, any questions? So this person raised the hand and he said to Prabhupada, I'm God. So you never say this thing to anyone, especially to Prabhupada. And Prabhupada says, you're not God, you're a dog. And I heard somewhere, I've not seen it in a lecture again, that someone was wearing a t-shirt. I was an atheist till I realized I was God. I was an atheist till I realized I was God. So I was an atheist yesterday thinking someone else is God. So I don't consider anyone else as God. But today I have realized I am God. So I have become a theist today because I am God. So believe me or not, many people, even in India, are the followers of this philosophy where they consider, now there is a mix of different types of people as well. Anyway, in general, they say nirvana, moksha, merging, and all that, that's considered. Now, if you look at from technical perspective, that is also Sat Chit Ananda. So there's a part of Satchitananda because this is Sat, this is eternal. And we are, as a part and parcel of Krishna, we are also Satchitananda. So we are seeking Sat. Sat means eternity. Suppose we are all living in a house. Who wants our house to get collapsed tonight? I would say no one. Who wants our status to go overnight? Who wants our dhan to go overnight or any time? We want to increase these things. So we want to sustain what we have. We want to increase it in a positive way. When we are suffering, we are not having pleasurable moments. What we want them to disappear immediately. So that refers to we are looking for Sat. So we do take pleasure in Sat. It's true. So it's called Brahmananda as per Rupa Goswami in NOD, and Brahmananda does give us pleasure. But what pleasure it gives? It gives a pleasure of Sat, partial Chit and no Ananda. Or you can say little Ananda. I should not say no Ananda. There is a little Ananda. So there is Ananda. Now we don't experience that, but people do. And if you imagine, I think you work outside and you may be working under your manager in a certain position. Suppose you are to become a CEO of that company. Suppose that company has a 50,000 employee. Being a CEO of that company and instructing 50,000 people is a great pleasure. Again, I've heard in a lecture, it says, Gauranga Prabhu was explaining in one of the classes, one of the IPS officer, he retired, he came to temple and he was talking to Prabhu. And he was explaining Prabhu, which Prabhu was explaining in his class. He said, when I was an IPS officer somewhere in Maharashtra, a big position he was telling Prabhuji, really, when we go out with our car and with all our paraphernalia and people walking behind you and people bowing down and saluting to you, I cannot explain the pleasure. He was telling Prabhu, I cannot explain. And I was just trying to imagine, actually it is pleasurable. To be very honest, being in a position and instructing others, because the jiva is trying to control the nature. Prabhupada says our controlling tendency is one of the most stumbling blocks in our spiritual advancement. We want to control people. And when we are able to, we feel actually pretty good, you know. His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj gives a very nice example. He says, when we come to ISKCON, we are actually trying to do bhakti initially. We are initially trying to do bhakti, and we are calling everyone else as Prabhu, Prabhu, and I'm fallen one, I'm the new one, I'm the neophyte. Everyone is greater than me, senior than me. And after some time, we also get initiated. And we also get the title of Das. And then others start calling us Prabhu. So we think, I'm senior now. And then we get second initiation, we get Gayatri and all that. And Maharaj says, and slowly we start competing with Mahaprabhu. So first we become Prabhu, then we start competing with Mahaprabhu. So all these things are relating to few deeper points. We have controlling mentality and we want things in eternity. So there is Ananda there, definitely. We may not experience it because of our humility and because of our good training with the devotees. There is a great of Ananda. And even after a lot of training, people have disagreements just because of these two things. I'm not able to control. I'm not able to feel Ananda. My expectations are unfulfilled from the other person. And that's why we have disagreements. So it's good you're not experienced. And we don't want that experience, because by Prabhupada's mercy, we are bypassing all these contaminations and going straight to the bhakti ladder, which is the fast track process for experiencing the highest treasure. Is that okay?
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Yeah. One more example comes to my mind. One devotee went to Prabhupada and he said, Prabhupada, when I meditate, that's what he said, when I meditate, I see the light. So he thought Prabhupada will appreciate him. Wow, you are able to see the light, because light is the goal of all the Gyanis. You know what Prabhupada said? Is start chanting Hare Krishna, the light will go away. Now, which guru will say that? Huh? Which guru will say that? He says, start chanting Hare Krishna, light will go away. Other gurus are attracting the people. You come to me and I will make you God, you know, pay me $6,000, I'll make you God in 6 months, and you start seeing the light. And here another guru, another Swami is saying, you start chanting Hare Krishna, my mantra, or my organization mantra, and the light will go away. So Prabhupada is clearly establishing these are all contaminations. These are all contaminations. So all this merging light, feeling Ananda for how long? Even if you feel Ananda, which is true, there is Ananda in the self, but again, for how long? We always, suppose you're very happy today, you got good promotion, you got some extra bonus of $50,000 and blah blah blah. Suppose you have no one to share your joy with, no one. Will you be very joyful? Your kids are not there, your family is not there, your friends are not there. You can't tell anyone what has happened to you today. You are very happy. No? So your happiness is there and you appreciate that, but for how long? But when you tell your friends, today, you know what happened? I won the prize. I got the gold medal. Your actual Ananda comes from reciprocation. So you can just understand from that example as well, our own Ananda will only last for some time. But when we reciprocate, you work very hard, you cook some dish for your son. When your son appreciates, then you feel more Ananda. So Ananda is always in the reciprocation, again, in the right person, in the right direction. So when we reciprocate with Krishna or his representative, then the real Ananda is experienced, and that is everlasting Ananda. No one can take that away. Okay, 3:20. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Very nicely explained.
Thank you. There's actually so much details to explain. I always look at the watch. There's so much can be said, and the philosophy is quite deep.
Yes, Prabhuji, we just want to relish it. We don't have to rush. You just enjoy.
Don't look at the watch.
Each and every verse, we just continue and enjoy it.
We can take one verse in one class. Sometimes more. You ask the previous batch which we are discussing, and they will tell.
I will not name someone, Prabhu, but I was given a feedback that, you know, the previous batch was doing in a very nice pace. We enjoyed a lot. This is rushing too fast.
I have done in 4 classes, one verse. I'll be very honest. So these are the, and I'm telling you very honestly, I don't have even qualification to explain. There is so much acharyas have given in the verses in the commentaries. Baladev Vidyabhushan is writing commentary here. In these verses of third chapter, I was reading today something, and I was like, so much can be explained. Again, I'm talking a drop in the ocean. Bhagavad Gita is like an ocean. And Prabhupada was asked in his final days, Prabhupada, you have done translation of so many books. Prabhupada has done around 60 books of translation, right? And obviously that went into multiple volumes later, but we're talking technically 60. Prabhupada was asked, Prabhupada, do you have any desire to translate any other book which you could not do because you have done most of the important books? What was the answer of Prabhupada? Anyone remembers?
He said Bhagavad Gita.
Bhagavad Gita. And devotees were shocked. They never expected this answer from Prabhupada. Prabhupada has given such a wonderful book already. But Prabhupada said, there is so much. Bhagavad Gita is so deep. So many angles we can look at these things. So many angles. Prabhupada had a desire to redo this work, what he has already done, which is sort of considered as a perfect work. It's a perfect work. But Prabhupada said, no, I have desire to do more because our acharyas have given so much on this. So we are trying just to relish. I can't even say a drop, to be honest, a droplet. You know, a droplet? in Bhagavatam, they use this word droplet. Droplet means a tiny part of a drop. So that's what we are doing. 1 hour, we're trying to do, 5 or 7 or 10 verses. As per MIHE, sorry to say, our average should be at least 15 verses a class. And when I heard that first, honestly, I was like, how do you do that? I can't do 15 verses a class. I can't do it. So anyway, I was discussing with my seniors and they said, you do what you can do. So I am more focused on discussion, but at the same time, there's some speed needs to be maintained because we are under their umbrella and we have to follow, and we appreciate that. They have certain good reasons to do that, but we're trying to make a little balance. Okay, let's move forward. Rupu Prabhu's introduction.
Yes, just to add on to the last point, I was hearing one lecture where the speaker said each verse you can discuss to a point to your lifetime.
Yes.
So not 3 days, 4 days rule. We can continue to discuss this for a lifetime.
Yes.
Still, it will be something more can be added.
And especially with Bhagavad Gita, and this is why Bhagavad Gita is one of the most popular book in the world amongst different high caliber people, and they have translated and explained. Now, explanation may be correct or incorrect. That's a different story. But they have chosen this book because there is so much depth in this book, and everyone is giving their own interpretations. This is one of the most worked book in the world. I'm talking it's a scriptural book, a book. It is so famous. Hundreds of commentaries has been given by people, hundreds. And they're all trying to prove themselves different. And they have done, good work, again, in a wrong direction, many of them, if not all of them. But this is so deep, so deep. Okay, let's move forward. 320.
320. Start with translation. Kings like Janaka attained perfection solely by performance of prescribed duties. Therefore, just for the sake of educating the people in general, you should perform your work. So, Prabhu Krishna starts by saying, Karmaiva hi samsiddhim. So, do your work. Karmaiva is work. Eva is given. Samsiddhim is perfection. So, do your work without any attachment in order to achieve perfection. And then he gives the example of Janak Maharaj, which is Asthita Janaka Deita Yaha. So similar to how Janak Maharaj was completely detached, Asthita, situated in a detached position. And he did that for Loka Sangraham Evapi. So for Loka Sangraham, for general people, for people in general, for their betterment, he did the same. And Krishna is then using this example to tell Arjuna what he should do, and which is Sampasyam is considering the previous example, which is of Janaka, Kartum Arhasi, which is you do your works, which is also for us that we should stay in a detached mode and perform our work. So all in all, Prabhu, this is a case study of Janak Maharaj, which Krishna uses for Arjuna, so that he is also detached while doing his work.
Yeah. So I'll just say 319 here. So 319 and 320, what's the relation between them? So for 17, 18, and 19, so what is being explained? A Jnana Yogi, which is self-satisfied, self-satiated, he does not seek shelter of other living entities. He has no duties to perform, but still, Krishna says he has no reason for not performing the work. So Arjuna asked a question here. That's from Gita Bhushan. Arjuna asks a question here. Arjuna says, mostly we see when people do the work, they don't achieve perfection. And if they want to achieve the perfection, they leave the work. That's what Arjuna's question is, right? So Krishna is saying, I've given you the principle that no, it's possible. Now I'll give you the example that while situated in work life, you can still achieve the perfection. And the word he used here, samsiddhim. So siddhi refers to perfect, and samsiddhim is samyak siddhi. Full perfection. Actually, you can achieve full perfection. Arjun's like, really? Who has done it? Astitaha Janakadayaha. Janak Adayaha. Adya refers to Adi, etc. Janak Adi have proved being a king. Videharaj, they are out of this world, but they're still performing their duties as a normal king, and they have achieved perfection. Why they are doing it? Lok Sangraha. Lok Chikirsha, Lok Sangraha. I will read this word again and again. That is for setting up the right example in Loka. Because if I feel, a simple example, difficulty in my performance of any prescribed duty, and I feel uncomfortable, oh, let me not do that, and let me try something else. If I'm in a leadership position, for example, and others will look at me, and what they will do, oh, if he was uncomfortable and left, maybe we should also follow the same thing. So what Janak Maharaj is establishing, although he was also feeling many day-to-day, things which he has to settle. A king has to do so many things. King just not just sit on the throne and order everyone else. King has a lot of duties. So he has also dealt with many cases where he has to settle. One thing I remember, again, I was hearing in a lecture, Vyasadev, when Shukdev Goswami came back to Vyasadev for learning Bhagavatam, so before he taught Bhagavatam to Shukdev Goswami, he wanted to test his son, how advanced he is. And this is the story in a Purana. So he asked Shukdev Goswami to go to Janak Maharaj for getting training in how to control your senses. So you can imagine in this example, just in this example, Janak Maharaj is proved as a guru of Shukdev Goswami. Now, we all know what's the position of Shukdev Goswami. Shukdev Goswami is giving Bhagavatam in front of his father and his father's guru. Who is his father? Vyasadev, and his guru is Narad Muni. Narad Muni and Vyasadev is listening Katha from Shukdev Goswami. And Vyasadev is sending this caliber person to Janaka Maharaj to get a training. Now you can imagine the position of Janak Maharaj. And he's a king. He's not a sannyasi. He's not sitting in a jungle doing tapasya. He's a king. So the story goes like, it's a very nice story. So Shukdev Goswami goes to Janaka Maharaj as instructed by his father Vyasadev to get training on sense control. So he obeyed his father. He went there. When he arrived on the door, so guards asked, who are you? He said, I am Shukdev, and my father has sent me here to meet with Janak Maharaj. So guards went inside, and probably they informed Janak Maharaj, but they came back. They did not respond to Shukdev at all. They just stood there with their spear or whatever they had in their hand, and they stood like that. They did not respond to Shukdev for 3 days. So Shukdev Goswami was waiting outside the palace of Janak Maharaj for 3 continuous days without even getting an acknowledgement. You go and meet the MP of your area. They does not even acknowledge that, Rupam Prabhu has come and is waiting in a waiting area. My boss will come in 2 hours or whatever, right? You just have to wait. And you're not waiting like in a shelter, in a nice AC waiting room where you have a glass of water and other things. He was just standing out of the palace. Guards did not even look at him for how many, not 1 hour, 2 hours, for 3 continuous days. But Shukdev was so much obedient of his father's advice or instruction. He waited. My father has sent me. I have to meet with Janak Maharaj. Now he's a king. He will take time. I will wait for him. So Shukdev was so patient. He was so patient. He just waited. So it's considered like a humility, isn't it? A guest comes on your door. He is knocking on your door. You do not respond to him or her at all. Isn't it like a humiliation of that guest who is standing and waiting outside? Even if you say, Prabhuji will come in 2 hours, at least you will say, Prabhuji, please come inside and have a seat. take a glass of water, something, whatever is possible in that situation. You'll try to attend that guest. But Shukdev Goswami was not attended at all. But 3 days, he was sitting in the Virasana, in the meditation, like Bharat Maharaj, and he was just meditating. 3 days later, Janak Maharaj came, riding on a big elephant with a big umbrella with lots of soldiers, and lots of bands were coming with him, and with a lot of pomp and celebration. And he came and received Shukdev Goswami. And you know what he said to Shukdev Goswami? He said, "Oh, sorry, I was not aware that you are here. I wish I would have known that you are here. I would come earlier. So now please come." So first he gave Apman. What was his first test? Apman. The insult was given to Shukdev Goswami for a long time. Now, if I was there, I would return back in 3 hours. Tell my father, he's just too proud. He's egoistic, or he's too busy. He's too busy to meet with me. I'll take an appointment later. Shukdev never turned back. Then after Apman, what he was given? Aman. So actually he was put on an elephant, he was given a garland, he was given a tilak, he was given servants, he was brought inside and given a big seat. So first Apman was given, then Man was given. Shukdev Goswami was not disturbed either in insult or in praises. Then the second test. So Janak Maharaj asked, "So what brings you here, my dear son?" So he said, "My father has sent me here to get a training under you for the sense control." Janak Maharaj said, "Okay, before I accept you as my disciple, let me test you first." So he gave a pot full of milk to Shukdev Goswami, completely filled. And he said, "Go around the palace 3 times, not even one drop should come out. If it drops, I cannot accept you as my disciple." Like, wow, what a test. And the palace was not like our, 2-bedroom unit. The palace of Janak Maharaj, you can imagine, must have been huge. And Shukdev Goswami accepted the instruction. This is my guru. My father is speaking, my guru is speaking. He accepted straight away. No questions asked. Why me? Why this pot? Why now? Can you empty it a little bit? Can you give me some help? Nothing. He took the pot, started walking. You know what happened? The next moment, Janak Maharaj sent the most beautiful ladies after him, who were dancing before him, who were laughing before him, going around him all the time. And around the palace, he had so many festivities going on. Now imagine if you go in a marketplace where the most beautiful opposite gender is walking in front and back of you, dancing, laughing. Will you not get disturbed? And then you have to take a long walk like that 3 times. Shukdev Goswami did that without even one drop coming out. Second test passed. Third test, Janak Maharaj said, "I have to take from you." He said, "Open your mouth." And what he did, he put some sugar candy in the mouth of Shukdev Goswami. It did not melt. After 3 tests, he said, "Actually, you don't need any training of sense control. Actually, I need to get training from you for the sense control." So what I'm trying to explain here, the position of Janak Maharaj, he has acted as a Guru Maharaj of Shukdev Goswami. So yeah, pretty high person. But what is he doing? He's doing his prescribed duty. He's in that role for Lok Sangraha. He's doing that duty. If Janak Maharaj is doing it, people will be encouraged to do it in a positive direction. Now, many times we can argue different things. When things go out of control, that's a different story. But we're talking a general principle. He was establishing for Lok Sangraha, a nice example. Rukam Prabhuji.
Who this Janak Maharaj, is he, his father of Sita, which is in...
It's true and not true. Okay.
Treta Yuga. Whereas, how do you reconcile these two?
Yep. So both are true statements, Prabhuji. So it says in the whole lineage, each king is called Janak Maharaj. So they have resided before then Treta Yuga as well. So Janak Maharaj is just not the name of a person, it's a post, and anyone who sits on that post is known as Janak Maharaj. Now, Sita Maharani's father's name, I forgot. There's a particular name that Janak. I forgot the name at this moment. So his name is also given in the Shastra. But in general, we say Janak and Janaki, which is true.
Okay, one more question.
Sure.
In the verse itself, the last word, arhasi, which is you deserve.
Yeah.
Oh, where does that fit in the whole context?
Okay, you should perform your work. So you deserve to do a better thing rather than running away from the battlefield. You deserve to stay here and perform your prescribed duty for setting up an example. Yeah. So Arhasi has been nicely translated by Prabhupada. You should perform your duty. So you deserve to perform your duty rather than not performing your duty. Right? Like example, your one of your senior is saying you deserve better seat, Rupa Prabhu. You say, Prabhu, I'm okay on the floor. No, you deserve a better seat. Huh? And they ask you to sit on a chair, for example. Because they respect you, they love you. So you say you deserve a better. So or it can be said, you should sit on a chair, Prabhuji, not on the floor. Huh? Okay. So Arhasi, you will see Shaknoti, Arhasi, this similar verses used throughout Bhagavad Gita. And you see a slight different translation of Prabhupada, because he presents in a very nice way, not just in a technical translation way. And that's why we have synonyms and we have translation. Okay. Okay, let's move forward to 321, which is one of the most popular verses in the 3rd chapter. Who was the next one? Vinay Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Jad jad acharati shrestha.
Yad yad acharati shreshthas.
Tat tad eva itara janaha.
Tad evetaro janaha.
Shajat pramanam kurute.
Shajat pramanam kurute.
Lokoho tat anuvartate.
Lokastat anuvartate.
Translation: whatever action a great man performs, common means man follow, and whatever standard he sets by exemplary act, all the world pursues.
Thank you, Prabhu. So it's again a continuation from 320, where Krishna has given example of Janak Maharaj, and now he's establishing a principle. So he gave principle of say Jnana Yogis, 3 verses, he gave his conclusion, then he gave an example, then again he is establishing a principle, which he has just said in 3.20, Yad Yad Acharati Shreshthas. So Shreshthas refers to Shrestha, great people. Acharati means whatever they do, whatever they perform. Yad Yad, whatever they perform. Tat Tat, Eve Taro Jana. Jana refers to normal citizen. They follow the Shrestha people. Sayat Pramanam Kurte. Whatever Praman here refers to the standards they set. Kurute. Lokastat Anuvartate. Loka again refers to Jana and Loka, the normal person, normal citizen. Anuvartate is to follow in their footsteps, as Prabhupada writes here, follow in the footsteps. So whatever action a great man performs, yad yad acharati shreshthas, common men follow. Tat tad eve taro janaha. Sa yat pramanam kurute. Whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts. Pramanam refers to exemplary acts. Lokastal anuvarte, all word pursues that. So this is a very, very nice verse of Bhagavad Gita, very famous verse. This tells us how our current society is shaped. Our current society get influenced by our role models. It says whatever role models a society has, that tells the detail about that society. If the role model in the society, for example, in the present day and age, what are our role models? Anyone? As a principal, or you can say name. Everyone is smiling. What
film
are
stars, sports stars or film stars?
Sports stars, and what the next word was?
Actors, movie
stars. Thank you. Movie stars, sports stars. That's absolutely correct. I want my son to become Salman Khan or Amin Khan. At least should dance that way. At least one song that way. And sports star. I don't know current cricketers much. Virat Kohli. I know one. I cannot recognize him. If you tell me a photo, I really don't recognize his face, but I've heard. Anyway, and some business tycoons, Bill Gates, for example, and many others like him. I don't know many, but the point is, many these sort of role models are there. So what are the examples they are setting? Either they are setting example of their strength. Salman Khan in a movie, for example, is going and beating 50 gundas. Everyone is shooting at him, but he doesn't get even one bullet, and he shoots even behind, and that hits the person. Or he's enjoying with women. So many women are after him, and same goes for women to men, men to women, whatever. So they are setting up the role models for our society, and you know where the society is going. If our movie star wears a torn jeans, everyone tears their jean. I tell you live story. A devotee was telling, I don't know the name. He said he went to a movie in his college days. He saw this movie star, I don't know which movie star, was wearing a torn jeans. He came home and he has just bought a new jeans, a nice one, new nice jeans. And he literally took the scissors and cut his jeans himself. And I was like, how can you do that? You spend, 1,000 rupees or whatever on your new jeans. He said, I cut my jeans with my own hand. That was the most crazy thing. He was laughing at himself. He was saying the most crazy thing. And I was feeling so proud after wearing that, torn jeans in my college. So why? Because he saw this movie star wearing a torn jeans in a movie. So these are the exemplary acts they are setting, because common men think being a celebrity like Salman Khan or whoever, it's cool. When they smoke, our youngsters smoke. If they drink alcohol, our youngsters drink alcohol. They don't realize what are the results going to be after that. So whatever exemplary acts, I should say, they are not exemplary acts, but they are the acts. Huh? They're the standard which they set, and everyone is following. Our women are following these women celebrities these days. Huh? But if you look in the past, who were our role models? Lord Ram, Mother Sita, Mother Anusuya, Hanumanji, Lakshman, the sacrifice of Mother Sita. They were the role models, and you can see the society were following them. Whether it's a male or whether it's a female, they were the role models, and the society was governed by Vedas. The Vedic culture was prominent all over the world, and they were following Vedic culture very perfectly, very, very perfectly. And the whole world was much happier place. But nowadays, government is very different, and many things which we consider as sin, as a devotee or aspiring devotee, they don't consider that as a sin at all. The sin is pretty common. I'm talking, say, meat industry. It's pretty common. Huh? Thousands of cows are getting killed every day. It's just okay. Drinking alcohol is just normal. Actually, if you don't drink, it's considered abnormal. How are you not drinking? How you're not smoking? You are from village. Thank you. And so many titles we get in the offices, which is fine. So the point which I'm trying to make, yad achrati sesha. So our celebrities in the past set up the examples, and people try to follow that. Now, obviously, no one can follow Lord Ram as he did, but he established the principle, super high. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu established the principle of a sannyas ashram, for example, super high. But when we have him as our role model, then at least we do things better than if a movie star is our role model. So this verse establishes who should be our role model, because if we change our role models, the society will change, because they are the one who is establishing the shape of the society, the future of the society, the vision for the society. Nowadays, the vision is everyone should be independent. And when we are independent, we know how dependent we are actually. In the so-called name of independence, we are actually becoming more and more dependent. Dependent on what? Our own lust, greed, anger, illusion. We are getting dependent on all the anarthas because we are becoming independent from our Vedic authority. So this verse establishes that we should make our role models very nicely, and when we try to follow them, we do better in the society. 322. Now 322 is the verse related back. So 320, Krishna gave example of Janak Adaya, Janak, etc., Janak and other rishis. 321, he established a principle how a society is shaped by the big people. That's why they have to set an exemplary act. Now 322, first time in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna gives his own example. Now that is pretty rare. It says in Shastra, and generally we should not give our own example unless that is needed for the discussion to prove a particular point in a positive direction, I'm saying. But Krishna, just to prove a positive point here, is giving his own example and also indicating his supreme position in 322. Let's read that one. I see Manmohan Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Name parthasti kartavyam.
Name parthasti kartavyam.
Trishu lokeshu kinchana.
Trishu lokeshu kinchana.
Nanavaptam avaptavyam.
Nanavaptam avaptavyam.
Varta eva cha karmani.
Varta eva cha karmani.
O son of Pratha, there is no work prescribed for me within all the three planetary systems, nor am I in want of anything, nor have I a need to obtain anything, and yet I am engaged in prescribed duties. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So now Krishna gives example of na me. So why me? Now, if I am giving you an example of, I don't know, a cricket star or something, I can't attach myself with me. Sachin Tendulkar does it. And have you seen me how I bat? Don't see me how I bat. I don't know how to hold a bat. I'm remembering Asim Prabhu, for example. He might be a much better example. I don't even know the terminology of the cricket. So here Krishna is giving examples. So examples should be given only in two situations. Me means my example. When we are very proud and you go in the society outside, they say, I did like that. I went like that. I responded in that way. I, and I. Another situation, Acharya gives his own example, again to set up an example. Prabhupada said, for example, I also went through so many things. I went through heart attack. Sometimes he said that. And sometimes disciples said things are very difficult. And Prabhupada says, actually disciples said things are impossible, Prabhupada. And Prabhupada says, impossible is the word in Fool's dictionary. And Prabhupada proved him. Narad Muni giving his own example to Vyasadeva, 1.5, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, 5th chapter. Narad Muni is giving his own example of his past life when he was a son of maidservant to Vyasadeva to inspire him to do something extra. So two extremes can be seen here. Now here, obviously, is the second one. Krishna is giving his own example to inspire Arjuna. Although I'm in such a position where I have no duties to perform. Na me parthasti kartavyam, na kartavyam. I have no kartavya. I have no duty. I'm not duty bound. Now we are all duty bound. Why? Because we are interdependent on each other. We take from each other. We are expected to give something back to that person appropriately. Like for example, a son or any child grows up, they are expected to look after their old parents as much as possible. Now that much duty is not, you're not obliged to do the same duty for your neighbor, for example. Your parents have done so much, we can never repay them. So appropriate response is very important. Appropriate word is very appropriate, because our responses has sometimes we become over appropriate, sometimes they become under appropriate. Over appropriate means some things needs to be given, a thing or a person or a finance, whatever. Don't overdo it and don't underdo it. Appropriation in our acts is very, very important. So Krishna is saying, na kartavyam. Krishna has no duties because he's not dependent on anyone. Trishu lokeshu. Now he's not just a person of this world. He's saying Trishu loka, three loka, all the three worlds. I have no duties to perform. Kinchan, not even a smallest duty towards any. Because is Krishna dependent on anyone? Is he taking anything from anyone? No, we are always dependent. Prabhupada quotes a very nice verse here. I'll not read the full thing. You can read on your own time. He says, Parasya Shakti Vivdhaya Rishuyate Swabhavaki Jnana Bala Kriya Cha. Swabhavaki. So Swabhavaki here refers to as soon as he desires something, that happens. And one of the name of Krishna is Satya Sankalpa. Now we also desire many things. Do they happen? We are just lying on our sofa and we desire nice meal should come in front of us in a nice golden plate. What will move? Nothing. Not even a glass of water will come in front of us unless we go to the kitchen, get our. In India, sometimes you have your younger sister or brother or some maid. You can even say, here you can't do that. You can't do that. You have to move yourself. But Krishna doesn't have to move. Krishna doesn't have to move at all. He desires three worlds to be established. He doesn't have to apply for a mortgage to CBA first, get his eligibility checked up, and then show his pay slips that I can pay off. Then CBA gives you a 200,000 or 500,000 mortgage, and then you start building a house. No, he desired world to be made for my little sons and daughters, for the jivas, and the world was made. He is Satya Sankalpa, and that's Prabhupada's Swabhavaki, Jnana Bala Kriya Cha. Whatever his Swabhava, whatever he desires by his Swabhava, it just happens automatically. We don't have that capacity. And because of that, his position, supreme position, he has no kartavya in the three words. Now, why do we have kartavya? For two reasons. Krishna is giving, not for himself, for us. Na anvaptabvam. Anavaptam. So now anvaptam is wanted. So we have wants, we have desires. Avaptam, we have to gain something. So desire here refers to our personal desire. I want to become CEO of the company. So obviously I have to work hard. And gaining here refers to that I want to gain something for my personal thing or for my personal family or personal nation and blah, blah, blah. So we have either personal desires or personal gains to be achieved. Like we are duty bound to our family, for example, to look after them. So we do look after them, although sometimes I don't want to go to work. I don't want to earn this much money, but you have to earn because you have so many commitments, which you have to do to look after your family. It's an example. Krishna doesn't have any desire. He doesn't have anything to gain for whatever so reason. But what he's doing, vartate evcha karmani, he is still doing his karma. He is still doing his prescribed duties. Now you can ask, many times Krishna seems to be not performing his prescribed duties. Anyone remember an example where Krishna seems to be not performing his prescribed duty? Okay, let's start from an example where he seems to be performing his duty, his prescribed duty. First, he said, I don't have a prescribed duty, but I'm still doing it. So he gives his own example. It's a pretty big example. Again, he is the greatest person of the three world, and he's giving, you should do your, you should do your duty. Janaka did it. You should also do. And I am also doing it. And then he gives his example. Although I have no duties to perform, I'm still doing it. So my question is, give an example when Krishna is performing the prescribed duties, so-called prescribed duties, as I said. He doesn't have any prescribed, but he's still doing it. And give an example where he's not performing, so-called not performing his prescribed duty. Vijay Gopi Mataji.
Like going to the school and taking the spiritual master.
Thank you. So his father, Vasudevji, desired, my son is 10-year-old, 11-year-old. He has not taken any education as yet. It's a duty of the father to send his kids for a nice education. He arranged it. Krishna did not ask back. But father, I'm the supreme personality of Godhead. Thank you, Mataji. Another example where he did perform his prescribed duties.
He acted as a husband to so many wives, so many queens, did all his duties.
Thank you. So if you read in Krishna book, in Srimad Bhagavatam, after 50th chapter onwards, where he was doing Dwarka Vas, around 40 chapters of 10th canto is dedicated for that. So Narad Muni is described, Jiva Goswami is described in quite detail there. It's an instance of Bhagavatam, which is described by Jiva Goswami in his Shat Sandarbhas. So Jiva Goswami explains that when Narad Muni is going to different palaces in Dwarka, there are 16,108 palaces. Whenever Narad Muni goes to one palace, Krishna seems to be doing some so-called prescribed duty, like he's doing yajna, he's doing puja, he's looking after his kids, he's interacting with his wife, he's interacting with his ministers, he's doing some charity, he's performing yajna. So all these duties seems to be performing. And when he goes to one palace, he's doing one duty. When he goes to another palace, he's performing another duty. So Jiva Goswami explains that proves. And Krishna was not like, we see sometimes in Hindi movies, where a single person is performing a double role. And then sometimes he gets caught. So he runs to the other spot before the person reaches and find out. Actually, it's not two people, it's one person. I'm remembering a movie, to be honest. I forgot the name of the movie. Golmaal. Everyone has seen the Golmaal? I have seen. So where one character is there and he runs to the second place before he gets found out from this another old man. What was his name? Whatever the name was. So one person performing multiple duties. So Krishna is not like that. Before Narad Muni arrives to the second place, Krishna is running in a big horse race and arriving to the second palace and change the makeup. Krishna is not like that. Krishna is pervaded everywhere. Jiva Goswami also explains it's not when Narad Muni was going from one palace to another palace, Krishna was different form and he had a different wife and all those things. The time zone was also different. Time zone means if I'm here at 4 o'clock, right now it's 8:30 in Sydney. When Narad Muni goes to next building, I live in Chatswood, so next building in Chatswood, there's a different time zone there. That's not possible here in Sydney, but imagine that was the case. That was the case in Dwarka. So not only he saw Krishna everywhere in a different form, but he was also present in a different time zone. So Jiva Goswami says Krishna is not only space pervasive, he is also time pervasive. He is present in all the space in all the time, and everywhere what Narad Muni is saying is seems to be performing his prescribed duty. Thank you. Now, can you give me some example where Krishna seems to be not performing his prescribed duties?
Hare Krishna.
Manmohan Prabhu?
So I might be wrong, but in Govardhan Leela, like not offering the sacrifice to Indra.
Sorry, second Prabhu, Govardhan Leela?
Govardhan Leela not performing the sacrifice for Indra.
Not performing sacrifice for Singra. Okay, that's one point. Yes, more Vijay Rasanand Prabhu?
Krishna ran away from the battlefield.
Run away from the battlefield. That's nice. Ran Chhod Rai. Yes, more examples. I'm looking more examples, more deeper examples. The Ran Chhod Rai, yeah, it is like that. Okay, but had a deeper reason. More deep examples. No one remembers. Everyone talks about these examples every day, I'm sure. Rupam Prabhuji, you're ready to say something.
I don't know if it makes sense, but in the Ratsu Yagya, Krishna, although being really high level person, he was still cleaning the pots and dishes of guests.
Yeah, that was not the prescribed duty. He had no duty, but he just chose volunteers for that seva. Rasanand Prabhuji.
Krishna stealing butter, Prabhu.
Thank you. That's what I was looking for. Krishna stealing butter. Now, in every single book of the world, forget Hare Krishna's book, in every single religion of the world, even the morality book, even the law book, you will see, even local law book, you should not steal. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, seems to be stealing more of these pastimes. Now people will say, Krishna, more. Where he seems to be breaking the rules. Dancing with billions of gopis. It says there were 10 billion gopis on that night. Now, which law book will condone that? Any law book of this world I'm talking? So, Jiva Goswami explains this so-called apparent contradiction. He says there are two things there. Actually, there are four things there. We'll just talk about two things in this class. So one thing is when Krishna was in Dwarka Leela, or say outside Vrindavan, so we call it non-Vrindavan Leela. Let's start from Vrindavan. So in Vrindavan Leela, Krishna was not in any leadership position. He was just a boy acting out of love. And Vrindavan is known as Prema realm, the realm of Prema. Outside Vrindavan, when you start from Mathura, so Mathura is mixed rasa and Dwarka is complete rasa in that sense of prescribed duties. He's perfectly performing his duties. He's perfectly performing his duties because that's not the realm of prema, that's a realm of dharma. Now, when we're talking dharma, the dharma of this material world. So when Krishna comes and so-called follows the law of the material world, he's not supposed to. He can transgress the law. For example, in Govardhan Leela, he transgressed the material law, isn't it? He's holding the Govardhan for 7 days on his pinky finger. Now, does that not transgress the material law? It does, because he's the owner of the material law, so he can transgress that. So in Vrindavan, we have to understand all the leelas he performed was in the realm of prema. He was not in a leadership position. Second thing Jiva Goswami explains, to establish this example, when all these celebrities come, the Supreme Personality of Godhead come, their different devotees come and they perform this supernatural pastime. They are for two purposes. One purpose of performing those pastime is to set an example for others. One purpose. When Krishna is doing so-called performing the prescribed duties, he is performing prescribed duties not for he wants to gain something, he desires something. He is doing for lok sangraha. One reason. Second reason they perform the pastime is to establish their supreme position. So one is to perform for loka, for jana, to establish an example. I am doing it, please you also do it. Second is to establish the example of their supremacy, which we cannot match. For example, Krishna lifting Govardhan hill. Can we match that pastime? Was it to set up an example? Now you also start lifting Govardhan in your own houses. From when my Prabhupada said, you want to become Gopijan Vallabh. Prabhupada said that means you want to go around gopis and all that. Someone was asking, Krishna had so many gopis around him. So Krishna said, you want to become Gopijan Vallabh, but before you become Gopijan Vallabh, you should become Govardhan Dhari. And Prabhupada said, if you cannot become Govardhan Dhari, at least become a table dhari. Table dhari means hold a table for 7 days in your pinky finger. Forget a table dhari, just hold your hand for 7 days. You cannot even hold your hand. So Prabhupada said, you want to become Gopijan Vallabh? So you're transgressing. So those examples of Krishna is not to be followed. Those examples of Krishna are to be meditated, to be relished, to be spoken about for our particular purification. And those examples, Yoga Swami says, is to establish Krishna is not one of us, because we can't do it. We can't do it. Even if you are given, can you hold 16,108 wives? Even if you are given, you can't. So the point here is not to see those things which Krishna is doing because to prove he is supreme, he is above these laws. Rather, look at those examples where Krishna is putting those examples for our purpose. So we have to differentiate. Even Prabhupada, what Krishna's devotees have done many times. We read many pastimes of Madhvendra Puri, where he has done supernatural acts. We read Hanumanji doing supernatural acts. Now, we can't follow those activities of Hanumanji or Madhvendra Puri. Even Prabhupada did that with many things like that. So we are not to look at those examples. What we are supposed to look at, what examples they are setting, which we can follow. It's many times says, for following, we follow Lord Ram. For relishing meditation as a purpose, we go to Radha Krishna. So there's a difference. There is a difference. And the difference is also valid, because otherwise you will say, oh, he's just one of us. He's just one of us. No, he's not one of us, and he has to prove it. And he proves through those particular pastimes. Sakhi Radhika Mataji.
Prabhuji, just quickly, is it like I'm trying to understand, and is it, I was just thinking, you can correct me if I'm wrong, same Krishna when he steals butter, because the Vrindavan is the Prema Bhumi, the Bhava is there. He laughs and he's okay, being caught and crying and all that, the beautiful pastime. Yeah. But same Krishna when he's acting outside Vrindavan, in Dwarka, he is like he doesn't like himself calling a thief. In the Simantaka jeweler, when he was like tagged as a thief, like he did it. The same Krishna acting out of dharma, like he's establishing, like I think that way.
Yes. No, you're right, Mataji. And he does work against that rumor. So rumor was made against Krishna, and he established that rumor was wrong. So you're right. He is establishing examples. So many times we talk about tolerance, and we do tolerate many things on a personal level. But when something is spoken where the clarification is needed, Krishna did appropriately. And so we have to do. Now, we are not Krishna. Krishna could do those things and we couldn't. But at least the thing is, the principle should be followed as much as possible. So you're right. You're right.
So just on that dharma, Krishna follows dharma wherever it is required. But when it's about his devotees, it's beyond dharma. That's how we understand it.
Yeah, when the reciprocation between Krishna and devotees on a prema level, he does that. Another example that comes to my mind right now is showing Virata Rupa. Yeah. Now, Krishna showed Virata Rupa to Arjuna. Now, you can't copy that example. You can't copy that example. What Rupa? Yeah, we also have Virata Rupa in our own way, and our close ones will know. But that's different. That's very different than Virata Rupa, which Krishna showed to Arjuna. So we have to understand appropriately, again, in the guide of our acharyas, which example is supposed to be followed, which example is supposed to be relished and meditated on. Okay. Let's move forward. So we understand the thread which is coming from 316 onwards. I'm just trying to put that whole thread together. So establishing the principles and saying, even if you don't have any duties, do your duty, because even being situated in the duty, 320, you can achieve the perfection. He gives example of Janak Maharaj. 321 establishes a principle for the whole society, and because Arjun was a leader of the society, he is particularly emphasizing that verse for Arjun. You're the leader. If you run away from the battlefield, from your prescribed duties, people will copy you. And then 322, he's like putting in ikka. What do you call in cards game? Ikka in English? I don't know. I don't know how to play these card games. Ikka. What's the topmost card?
Ace.
Okay, ace. Thank you. I was just checking if devotees know. Anyway, ace. You're putting ace. He's putting their own example. Even I don't have any duties to perform. Name parthasi. May word is so clear. Trishu lokeshu kinchan. Amongst the three words, I don't have any duties, but still I'm doing the duties. So that is like the highest speaker saying you must perform your duty. Okay. Now you may have a question just on a side. What is your duty? Personalized, your guru will give you your duties. Huh? So there's a general duties to perform. There's a prescribed, particular, customized duties. Your guru will define that. 323. It's also very nice verse. It's again targeted to Arjun very nicely. Who is next? Who is not? Shraddha Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Yadi he aham na varteyam.
Yadi hi aham na varteyam.
Jatu karmanya tandritaha.
Jatu karmanya tandritaha.
Mama vartamanu vartante.
Mam vartamanu vartante.
Manushya partha sarvashaha.
Manushya partha sarvashaha.
For if I ever failed to engage in carefully performing prescribed duties, O Partha, certainly all men would follow my path. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. So this is also a very nice verse. I'll tell you one more thing. You can open 4:12. I was reading this verse today, and no, not 4:12, it's 4:11, I guess. Yeah. So 323, yadi hi aham na varteya jatu karmane atandita. So yadi aham. So aham again is extending the thoughts which he has established in the previous verse, and he's going on. Na varteyam. Varteyam refers to the engaged. If I am not engaged, jatu karmane, karmani again refers to his prescribed duties. Atandrita. So we know there's a word in Hindi as well. Tandra. Tandra refers to need, laziness. Huh? Atandrita means not laziness. Huh? So he is doing his duties. Now, how he's doing his duties? Atandrita means very, very carefully. Now, many times, when we give some duty to another devotee, we say, can you please do it? He does in such a way you feel like, better I do it. Why did you do it? They create more work for you. Huh? Sometimes you tell kid, like an 8 or 10-year-old kid, you do something, and then in such a way, my mama says, I will never ask anything to you again. Sometimes they do it purposefully, sometimes they do it innocently. So we all experience that. So the point is, Krishna is not like that. Okay, I have to do the certain example. I'll just do it in any way. No, Krishna is saying, I'm performing my duties atandrita. So what message Krishna is giving to Partha or to all the humanity? We should also perform our duty with atandrita, not showing laziness, not showing lethargy in our duties. Whatever duties are performed for males, females, householders, fathers, mothers, kids, we all have to perform our duty carefully, not with lethargy, because that will lead to, again, differences. So, yadi hi aham na varteyam jatu karmane atandritaha. If I am not performing my duties without lethargy, what will happen? What will the result of this? Mam, me, vartama. So vartama is a word, again, you must have heard many times. It refers to path. So there are 3 types of gurus we know. The first guru is called as, anyone remembers the first type of guru is known as? Everyone knows the word, but it's a matter of clicking.
Chaitya Guru.
Huh?
Chaitya Guru.
Chaitya Guru probably is the last one in the series. It's the first one where we start. Vartama Pradarshak Guru. Suppose someone just gives you information, there's a hall program in Glenfield, please come tomorrow. Actually, he is showing you a path. He may not be a devotee, he may be only going for prasad or some other reason, not devotional, but he is your Vartama Pradarshak Guru. He showed you the path for temple, for scriptures. By this book, he is Vartama Pradarshak Guru. The second Guru is Siksha Guru, who gives you Siksha. So he does not just show you the path, he gives you Siksha by his own example, by sharing the knowledge and all that. And third is Diksha Guru. Now your Siksha and Diksha Guru can be same. Diksha Guru can also be Vartama Pradarshak Guru. Huh? Your Guru Maharaj called you to the temple for the very first time, you didn't know about it. I remember I was in Hornsby with His Holiness Bhakti Rasamant Maharaj, just in a park. Maharaj was just walking and I was also just following Maharaj, and one man came and he did pranam to Maharaj. Some pious person from India or Nepal, I can't remember. He said, oh Maharaj, Swamiji, whatever he said to Maharaj. So Maharaj invited him for the hall program. So the same night we had a hall program somewhere. So Maharaj said, oh, please come for the program. Huh? So he thanked Maharaj. I'm not sure whether he came or not. So in that case, I'm saying Maharaj showed him a path. Maharaj did not give any siksha right on the spot. He just said, hi, how are you and all that, but please come for a program. A small interaction. So Vartma Pradeshak Guru, Siksha Guru, Diksha Guru, and the last one, as Mataji was saying, Chaitya Guru. Now, Diksha Guru is considered the external manifestation of our Chaitya Guru. They are same. That means our Guru Maharaj is representing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we should consider it that way. He is not Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he is the supreme representation of the supreme mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is no other than our Diksha Guru. Anyway, so Vartma refers to path. Vartma also refers to the mukh. If we read in 10th canto, Davagni Pan Leela by Krishna, the word Vartma is used there. So Vartma also refers to the mukh. So Krishna's mukh is Agni, fire. Anyway, so Vartma here, Vartma refers to the path. Anuvartante follows. My path people will follow. Okay, I said people, Krishna is Manusya, refers to the people, Partha is Krishna, Arjuna, Sarva, all the people, Sarvashaha Manusyaha, Anuvartante will follow Mama Vartama. Makes sense? Sarvasaha Manusyaha, all the Manusya, all the humans, Anuvartante will follow Mama Vartama, my path. So whatever path I will take, Manusya will follow. So this is a very great thing. So all the things which Krishna has done, for example, say in setting up the example, people follow. Now there is a similarity in this BG3.21 and 4.11. You see, second line here is exactly same. Mam vartamanu vartante manusya saha. So it says there are three couplets in Bhagavad Gita. I will not talk today. So 3.23 and 4.11, the second line is exactly same. Same goes for 9.32 and 934 and 1865 and 335 and 1847. Half of the line of the verse is exactly same. So 3 chapter has 2 verses, very rare in Bhagavad Gita, very, very rare. Actually, it's the only chapter in Bhagavad Gita where we have 2 verses where half of the line of the verse is exactly same as another half of the line of the verse, another place in Bhagavad Gita. So this is one of the instances. This was actually told to me by His Holiness Bhakti Rasayan Maharaj. I remember this class, not this function, another class, 335, was given on Dhira Prashant Prabhu's place probably 10 years ago by Maharaj, and he explained. I really liked it, so I made a note. So this was told by Maharaj that 6 verses in Bhagavad Gita, half of the lines is exactly same. 3 couplets, you can say. So what it represents? People follow Krishna's path. Whatever path Krishna has set, people follow. Now that path may lead towards Krishna or lead against Krishna. But people follow Krishna's path. Some path will take you towards the temple. Some path will take you away from temple. So when you're driving towards 180 Falcon Street, you're going towards temple, right? When you're driving away from the temple. So the same route you are taking, right? But that is taking you away from temple. It's not in a physical sense, in a more contextual sense. So some path, some things which we do will take us towards Krishna. Some things which we will do created by Krishna, but will take us away from Krishna. Is that clear? But in either situation, we are following Krishna's path. So it's very important. Krishna is saying, I follow my duties atandrita, without any lethargy. Okay. 324. We have Jai Prakash Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Usti deyur ime loka.
Usti deyur ime loka.
Na kuryam mam karma chedaham.
Na kuryam karma chedaham.
Sankarasya cha kartasyam.
Sankarasya cha kartasyam.
Upahanyam imah prajaha.
Upahanyam imah prajaha.
If I did not perform prescribed duties, all these worlds would be put into ruination. I would be the cause of creating unwanted population, and I would thereby destroy the peace of all living beings.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Now, in this verse, anyone can see a very important word which relates back to the discussion earlier in Bhagavad Gita? Vijay Mataji has told, I've heard without unmuting.
Sankaras.
Sankar. Sankar refers to Lord Shiva?
No.
Varna Sankar.
Unwanted.
Thank you. Unwanted progeny. So where did we read it, Mataji or Prabhuji? Can you just tell the context for everyone?
Chapter 1.
Chapter 1. What was the context? Arjun has given this.
Arjuna says that he don't want to fight because it would lead to unwanted progeny.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So it's 140 and 141. If you refer back in the first chapter, Arjun's one of the reasoning of not fighting was because it will create Sankar Praja, unwanted progeny. You remember that? So that question is answered here in the Bhagavad Gita, which is 324. And you see 324 and 25 as well. So here, Arjun's argument is countered by Krishna in 324. Why he should fight, although he used the word. So he said, Utti derume ime loka. So Utti deyu refers to would be put into ruination. So this is the similar argument given by Arjun earlier. If I fight, it will produce ruination. But now Krishna is saying, if you do not fight, you will be put into ruination. How? Look at this here. Ime loka, this loka, where we are, na kuryam karma chedham. If I don't do, again, similar point is mentioned, if I don't do my karma, my prescribed duty, sankar chakarta, that will produce sankar, unwanted progeny. So previously Arjun was saying, if I fight, it will produce unwanted progeny. But what Krishna is saying, if I do not do my duties properly, and Manushya Parth Sarasha, because Manushya are following my path, then that will produce the unwanted progeny, and I will be responsible for Hanya. Hanya refers to, anyone remembers? Hanti, Hanta, Hanan.
Loss.
Refers to?
Loss,
destroy, killing. So Uphanya, which refers to destroy again. So I will be responsible for destroying these Ima Praja. So Ima Praja, Ime Loka, similar word, 2 times used in the verse, Sankarasya Karta. Why? Because people will become irresponsible. So previously Arjun was saying from a physical point of context that if I fight, I will kill the male members and Istriya may become contaminated and unwanted progeny will be filling up the whole society. But here Krishna is saying from a different perspective, same thing. I will be responsible for Sankar, unwanted progeny, if I do not do my duty carefully and properly. Okay. So the context here is very different, although it is just the same thing. So there Arjun was running away from prescribed duties and saying that will be the result. Here Krishna is saying, if I don't do that, my prescribed duties, then that will be the result. Why? Because people will become irresponsible, and irresponsible people are of no use. Irresponsible people are not wanted. We like to have responsible devotees around us, isn't it? There are many devotees around us, but some are responsible, some are not so responsible. Whom would we try to make friends with? Responsible or irresponsible? Irresponsible devotees? Or forget devotees, even friends in general sense, who do you like? Irresponsible friends, irresponsible children, irresponsible male, females. We all like to have friendship with the responsible. Why? Because they know what they are doing, what's good, what's bad. They can discriminate, they can guide us. So similarly, Krishna is saying, if I become lazy in performing my duties, people will follow my path. People will also become lazy. As soon as a difficulty will come, they will try to run away, as you are trying to do. So I cannot do that, because if I do that, the result will be Upahanyam Ima Praja. I will be the cause of their destruction. It says, I would thereby destroy the peace of all living beings. Okay, it's clear. So similar thoughts is going. Krishna is connecting with his own example. 325. We have Kanika Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Sapta karmani avidvamso.
Saptaha karmani avidvamso.
Yatha kurvanti bharata.
Yatha kurvanti bharata.
Kuryat vidvams tata saktas.
Kuryat vidvams tata saktas.
Shikirshu loka sangraham.
Shikirshu loka sangraham.
As the ignorant perform their duties with attachment to results, the learned may similarly act, but without attachment, for the sake of leading people on the right path.
Thank you, Mataji. And thank you, Vaishnav, for helping mom to read the verse. Okay, so what Krishna is saying here is differentiating between avidvanso and vidvanso. So two words you can take here. So vidwan refers to a scholarly person, a knowledgeable person. Avidwan refers to a person who is not very knowledgeable. And Prabhupada translates avidwan as a ignorant person. The first line said saktaha. Saktaha will translate it to, anyone can guess? I keep saying asakta, sakta, asakta. So sakta here refers to attached person. Who is attached? Avidvansa. So avidvan hai, the one who is ignorant, is doing his duties. But how is doing? Saktaha. Or you can put it another way. If you're attached to your duties, the results of your duties, what you are actually, you're not very learned. You're an ignorant person as per Bhagavad Gita. So when we are doing the activities where we are attached with the result of the activity, are we very intelligent or non-intelligent? As per Bhagavad Gita, we are actually not very intelligent. That's what Bhagavad Gita is saying. Don't blame me. Yatha kurvanti bharata. So yatha, as avidvan, ignorant person, does his duty, but he is attached. He's called avidwan. Next line. Kuryad vidwan. So kuryad, the same activity a vidwan will do, a scholarly person, a knowledgeable person will do. Tatha asakta. So the word here is used asaktaha, without attachment. So Prabhupada writes here asakta, without attachment. So similar duty is done by an ignorant person. Similar duty is done by a non-ignorant person, a knowledgeable person. So what's the difference here? In the consciousness. One is having the consciousness of being attached with the result. One is having the consciousness of being unattached with the result. And why he is doing that? Chikurshur Lok Sangraha. Again, the same word is used for Lok Sangraha. So simple message of this verse is, we should be performing the duty. Our duty should not change. What should change? Our consciousness should change. The external look of the activity will be same. A simple example can be given in Braja, in Vrindavan. If you see in Krishna's time, people were doing many household activities. They were considered Vaishya. They will do agriculture, they will do farming, they will do cow protection. Now, nowadays, if you go to any villages of India or anywhere else, I guess people do the similar activity. But is there any difference between their activity and the activity of the modern person? There's a huge difference. When Vajavasis were doing the activities of farming and cow protection, for example, what was their purpose of doing cow protection and farming? To please Krishna. And what is the purpose of today's modern world doing the farming or so-called cow protection? No one protects the cow these days except devotees. They want to protect cow for the purpose of killing the cows. They are doing farming to earn money. I've heard, at least in India, that nowadays farmers put such a fertilizers that a cauliflower, which is like a small cauliflower in the night, they put some strong fertilizer that becomes huge, so that they can sell it for a very high profit. Same goes for potatoes. I've heard in some lecture somewhere, McDonald's uses some chemicals in farms where they grow potato, some sort of very special and strong chemicals. So after sprinkling that chemical on the vegetation of this potato, no one is allowed to go in that fields. They use a stadium as field, just for information. No one is allowed to go for 2 weeks because the chemicals are so strong. Any human entering into those stadiums or fields for those 2 weeks, they will actually suffer the health. Now they grow the potato, and the size of the potato is huge, We don't see those potatoes coming in the market. And there are special potatoes which they use for making French fries, which kids love to buy. And just for the information, again, I've heard somewhere they cut in a proper size and they soak those so-called French fries in a beef stock for n number of days. So their taste becomes very nice. So the shape and the taste is maintained by chemicals and beef stock. And then they fry it in the fish oil. And then kids go for $2 and they buy something. I'm vegetarian. I'm just taking French fries from McDonald's. I'm not eating burger. So that's already been soaked in beef and been used such a chemicals, which the farmers itself who sprinkle the chemicals are not allowed to go back to the field for 2 weeks. So you can imagine the taste of these so-called McDonald's veggie French fries. So anyway, I don't know how I went to that example. I'm reading this 325. Anyway, can't remember. Let's come back to the verse. So the verse is saying we should become vidwan. We should not become avidwan. Again, not trying to leave your activity. Yes, I remember now. I went to Vraja. I was talking about the farming. Somehow the example came into my mind. So the activity is not to be left. What is to be left is the consciousness by which we need, which leads to that activity. And the consciousness, as per Bhagavad Gita, should be asakta. And then you will are vidwan. So you don't have to leave your family, your country, your duty to your parents or your kids. What we have to leave is our controlling mentality, where I want to control the results as per my opinion, because I'm super, I'm great, I'm doing the work. So the result should also come in my favor. And if the result does not come in my favor, we become disturbed. So Bhagavad Gita is telling you do the duty as per your varna and ashrama, but be asakta. Because if you are asakta, you're actually a vidwan, and you are doing that for Lok Sangha. So Chaitanya Prabhu says many times we should perform our duty for our purification. We cannot come out of our duties. Now again, what will be the result of performing the duty? That's a different discussion altogether. That can be very different scenarios on that. When I tried to do my duty, what happened? That's a different point of discussion. 326. Nidhi Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Na buddhi vedam janed jnanam.
Na buddhi vedam janayed.
Ajnanam karma sanginam.
Ajnanam karma sanginam.
Joshayet sarva karmani.
Joshayet sarva karmani.
Vidvan yukta samacharan.
Vidvan yukta samacharan.
Translation. So as not to disrupt the minds of ignorant men attached to the fruitive results of prescribed duties, a learned person should not induce them to stop work. Rather, by working in the spirit of devotion, he should engage them in all sort of activities for the gradual development of Krishna consciousness.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
So, na buddhi bhedam janayeda. So, basically, in the previous verse, I'll just open it. 325. What's being told in 325 and 326? So, we can see a very great connection. So, there are two persons described in 325. One is vidwan, one is avidwan. One is a knowledgeable person, one is an ignorant person. Now, knowledgeable person can say, oh, you are an ignorant person, you are attached to the fruitive results, so let me teach you, right? Let me teach you, let me tell you. Now, many times you will have all experience when we preach someone about Krishna consciousness activity in over enthusiasm, the results are not so sustainable because the recipient was not ready. Although we are trying to do good for the recipient, but many times they don't take it, they run away. And we have so many examples, left, right, and center. So Krishna is saying, na buddhi bhedam. So buddhi refers to their intelligence, bhedam refers to bhedana, to go inside. You should not disturb their intelligence. Janayed, the person who is avidwan, although he is avidwan, Ajnanam, karma sanginam, he is ajnani, he is ignorant, he is sanginam. Sanginam refers to again sakta. He is attached to the results. You know that he is ajnani. But what you should do, na buddhi bhedam janayeda. Similar thing Krishna will say in the 7th chapter, when devotees, when people are worshipping demigods, Krishna says they are alpa buddhi. They don't have buddhi, they don't have much intelligence, but you should not disturb their faith. So basically Krishna is saying whoever is working in whatever, unless they are ready to listen the knowledge, they're ready to receive the knowledge, you should not give over knowledge. Because if you give them over knowledge, what will happen? They will get disturbed and they will not even perform the duties what they are doing. For example, if you tell a little kid, he can only take what he can take as per that his age or her age. They can't take more than that. If you give more than that, what they will do? They will disturb you by performing those activities in a very different way, which you don't expect. So Krishna is saying, na buddhi bhedam, please do not disturb. So Prabhupada writes, buddhi bhedam as disruption of intelligence. So don't disturb them. Ajnanam, they are doing work in ignorance. Karma, prescribed duties. Sanginam, they are attached. But what you should do, Joshayed. So many times when we come to ISKCON, we always say, dovetail, dovetail, dovetail. I was very sort of concerned, not now, earlier, that where is this word used in Bhagavad Gita? 326 is the verse in Bhagavad Gita where the word is used by Krishna, not Prabhupada made it. Joshayet, which refers to dovetail. Now we listen this word from day one in ISKCON. Dovetail your skills in Krishna's service. You're a good writer, you're a good singer, you're a good cook, no problem. Everyone is welcome to perform service in your own skill set. Accountants are okay, IT specialists are also okay. Everyone is fine. Joshet is the word. 326 is the word in Bhagavad Gita. And Prabhupada writes here, he should dovetail. So what he should be telling this person who's a Agyani, who's a beginner, you go to work, that's fine. You keep going to work, but you give some part of your earning to Krishna. You give some time to Krishna. You come to temple some time for Krishna. You perform some puja at home for Krishna. Don't have to leave your family. You can pay your mortgage. You can have a car. You can have a big house, big position, no problem at all. Joshayeta, dovetail your skills to Krishna. Okay. So Vidwan Yuktas, what a Vidwan will do? Joshayet. So the key word you can say in this particular verse is about preaching, is about Joshayet. And it says only a mature person can apply this maturely. Now we all try to apply this, but we are not so mature as yet. And many times we are successful, many times we are not. Joshet. So you see our sannyasis are so good in dovetailing, so good in dovetailing. They can dovetail practically everything in the service of the Lord, where we feel, Are, ye aadmi to service kar hi nahi sakta, huh? He is so fallen. This person is so fallen. Example comes to my mind, Narad Muni preaching to Valmiki. He's saying, chant Ram, Ram, Ram. Valmiki said, Ratnakar Daku that time, I can't chant Ram, Ram, Ram. Then Narad Muni, so intelligent, said, can you chant Mara, Mara, Mara? वो तो बोले रोज का काम है. I do that every day. Mara, 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 Mara. Just by chanting Mara, Mara, Mara. Who said that? Narad Muni said that. Do Mara, Mara, Mara. Dhruv Maharaj said, I want a big kingdom. Narad Muni said, no problem, beta. No problem at all. Go to Vishnu. Chant Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya and Vishnu will give you the kingdom. Now Narad Muni never mentioned Dhruv Maharaj. Beta, he will purify you. You'll become a devotee. You'll become a pauper or beggar. We read in Bilomangal Thakur, but we read in Purushottam Mas. I'm not remembering the Sanskrit word which Bilomangal Thakur is. Krishna makes you a pauper, a beggar. What is that line? Mahasu Prabhu, you remember? Purushottam, which we read, Krishna will make you beggar. What's the Sanskrit line for that? Anyway, you know, the Chaurashtakam which I'm referring to.
Chaurashtakam, yes, is Vraja
There's a
Prasiddham.
line where Krishna, Bilomangal Thakur saying, actually he makes you a pauper, a beggar. Now if Narad Muni tells that, who will listen to Narad Muni? Narad Muni said, Mara, Mara, Mara is all right. Lot of sampatti, no problem. Beta, anything, no problem at all. You go to Lord Vishnu, you go to Krishna. So Joshayet is very important. Only preachers can use this very nicely, but we should also do that as much as possible. 327, again, one of the very, very important verses, highly quoted verse by different sannyasis and speakers. 321, 327, 335. There are some verses, 337 or 38. Like third chapter is very, very important because that relates to our day-to-day life. 327, who has not read? Devya Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prakrite kriyamanani gunhe karmani sarvasha ahankara vimudhatma kartaham iti manyate. Translation. The spirit soul bewildered by the influence of false ego thinks himself the doer of activities that are in actuality carried out by the three modes of material nature. Thank you.
So this is another very important verses of Bhagavad Gita where Krishna is saying Prakritehe kriyamanani. So Prakritehe refers to Prakriti, the material nature. Kriyaha manani means the activities are done by Prakriti. In the Prakriti, particularly speaking, Gunai hai. Guna refers to three modes of material nature. Karmani, the activity, Sarvasha. Sarvasha refers to all the Karmani. Sarvasaha Karmani, all the activities are actually done by the modes, Gunai hai, of Prakriti. But what I think, a simple soul thinks, ahankar, due to ahankar, due to false ego, we have this, Prabhupada says, the mentality of doership. I am the doer, karta aham. Iti manyate means aisa mante hain. So we consider that I am the karta, I am the doer due to ahankar. And then who I am? Vimudhatma. So mudha refers to one who is illusioned. Vimudha, who is completely illusioned. So one who is completely illusioned, only that person, due to ahankar, thinks karta aham. I am the karta. So if I have achieved a World Cup, for example, in cricket or something, I'll say, I have done it. You've seen the photos of the team? Yeah. They open a bottle, they're cheering and they're enjoying the celebration. And the other team who has lost the match, they just put their head down. I have lost the match. Huh? Actually, in either situations, Krishna is saying, Pratyek Kriyamanani. Actually, the task was done by Prakriti. Now, you will say the task was done by Prakriti, then what's our role? Anyone can put some thoughts here? Krishna is saying the task is done by Gunai Karmani Sarvasha. All the Karmani is done by Guna, by Prakat, the modes of material nature. But you are thinking, if you are thinking, Karta Aham, I am the Karta, I am the doer, actually you are a Vimuda. You are completely deluded. You are completely illusioned. How do we understand that in our day-to-day life? A Mataji goes to the kitchen, makes some bhoga, and she comes out and she said, I've been sweating in the kitchen for last 2 hours. And Prabhuji goes, you are a Vimuda, you haven't cooked anything. What response you will get, you can imagine. Huh? So don't say that, just apply on yourself. Huh? When you get a success or a failure, in both the situations, Krishna is saying the activity was performed by me? No, by modes of material nature. How do we understand that? Soul, completely a spiritual being, is residing in the body. You must have heard that saying, we are not humans having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having human experience. Huh? We are not human beings who are having spiritual experiences. Like originally we are human beings and some spiritual experiences we are having on the way. No, it's other way. We are spiritual beings having human experience. And that makes sense because tomorrow I may become a dog. So I'm a spiritual being having a dogly experience, a spiritual being having an angel experience, a demigod experience, a Brahma experience, blah, blah, blah. We do not belong to the world. We are not belonging here. What are we doing here? We are just passing through in a transition state. Now, while we are here, by Krishna's arrangement, Prakriti arranges to fulfill our desires. So what we do only, we desire. A soul only desire the facilities provided by Prakriti. Give you one example. I'm speaking at the moment, right? So for speaking, I need my vocal cords to work, isn't it? If my vocal cords are not working, forget vocal cords. If my tonsils are high, I'm looking at Manmohan Prabhu, I'll be coughing. Prabhuji, kuch medicine de do. I was talking about medicine with Prabhuji last week anyway. So I desire to speak, but I may not be able to speak, isn't it? So who is facilitating me to speak? My vocal cords are facilitating me to speak. Baldev Vidyabhushan gives a similar example in Gita Bhashya. He says, a woodcutter cutting wood in a jungle, and he cuts the wood, right? So you will say, who has cut this wood? What will be the response? Anyone can say? The person is right in front of you. Who has cut the wood? What he will say? Bhakti Mataji, I can't hear.
Woodcutter.
A woodcutter cuts the wood. Wood is right there. You go there and you ask, who has cut the wood? What you will say?
Woodcutter.
Huh? Woodcutter. Can woodcutter cut the wood without the help of an axe? Isn't it?
Actually, the axe.
He has a desire to cut the wood, but he doesn't have capacity to cut the wood. The capacity is given to the axe. Axe was cutting, isn't it? Not the woodcutter. But axe does not have capacity to desire. Who desired? Woodcutter desired. So it's a combination of both. Baldev Vidyabhushan says it's a combination of both. Woodcutter desired to cut the wood. He didn't have the capacity to cut the wood. Axe had the capacity to cut the wood, but didn't have the desire. Axe cannot act on his or her own, isn't it? Okay, that may be a magical axe we see in children cartoons. The axe went. I was watching some cartoon with Gaur Gopal, and there were 3 axes were cutting the something automatically. So it doesn't happen in the real world, right? So we have to desire, we have to do the chesta, we have to perform the action, and the result comes. So we are one in the series. We are not all in the series. All in all, then we are the man of the match. Really, just things went in our favor. That's all. Many times we are failure in our life. We desire so many things. They don't come out in the same manner which we expected from the life. So what happened, Prabhuji? You are the same person. So when you get the credit of success, you should take the responsibility for the failures as well. Then we realize we are not all in all. We are not the karta. We are not the whole karta. So what soul is doing, soul is desiring. And Prakriti gives the facility, and many times the result does not come out as per our expectation. Is that right? We're trying to cook a sabji, a simple example. I have taken gajar halwa example. We're discussing gajar halwa other day. So we want gajar halwa in a particular a taste. We want that. If that doesn't come out, we say, oh, the chesta wasn't there. But Prabhuji, we did the chesta in a particular way. We had all the ingredients, but taste nahi aaya. Taste nahi aaya. What happened? The result did not come out because we are one in the part of the series which brings out the result. We're not all in all. In 18th chapter, I think we have discussed it earlier. We will read all the 5 components of performing the work. Okay, so soul is one of them, who desires, who initiates the action, who initiates the desire of the action, and then Prakriti gives the facility, and depending on your deservedness, you get the result, favorable or unfavorable. Makes sense? The whole series. Sometimes you get good results from life, sometimes you get bad results from life. So here the same thing is saying. So do not think ahankar vimudhatma, that I am the doer. So anytime you take the full credit of your success, go back to this verse, and as per the verse, actually, if you think you are the doer, you have to take the full responsibility of being a vimuda, as per Bhagavad Gita. Okay, let's do one last verse. We have 3 minutes. This is a small verse. Who has not done today? Anyone? Okay, anyone can do it.
I'll do it, Prabhu.
Okay, do it, please.
Tattva vittu mahabaho.
Tattva vitta mahabaho.
Guna karma vibhagayo.
Guna karma vibhagayo.
Guna guneshu vartante.
Guna guneshu vartanta.
Iti matva na sajjate.
Iti matva na sajjate.
One who is in knowledge of the absolute truth, almighty armed, does not engage himself in the senses and sense gratification, knowing well the differences between work in devotion and work for fruitive results.
Thank you. Tattva vitta mahabaho. So one important word we can write in this verse, tattva vitta. Anyone knows the meaning of tattva vitta? We have seen this verse in Bhagavatam 1.1.11, 4.34 in Bhagavad Gita. Tattva vitta. Vitt means Ved, to know. Yes, Prabhuji Mataji.
The person who knows the Vedas, the absolute truth.
Absolute truth. Thank you, Manas.
In reality.
Yeah, know the reality. So, Jnanina Tattva Darshana. Vadandi Tattva. That is 1.1.11. So, Tattva Vit, Tattva ko janne wala, the knower of the Tattva. So, previous verse, what we are describing, Vimhuda. So now opposite thing Krishna is described. Tattva Vitti Mahabhav. So a person who is Tattva Vitta, he differentiates Vibhagayoho in guna and karma. He understands the karma, the actions are done by guna. And he does not engage himself. Guna, guneshu, there are 2 words. Guna refers to, as per Prabhupada's, senses. So guna can have meaning of modes and can also have meaning of senses. And Gunesha Prabhupada translates as sense gratification. So a person who is Tattva-vitta, who is knowledgeable, who is a knower of the absolute truth, does a vibhag. You know, we were talking about discrimination earlier. A person should be discriminating what needs to be done, what not needs to be done. So this person does a vibhaga, does distinguish himself, and does not engage himself either in guna, means senses or sensual activity, and guneshu, sense gratification activity. Iti matva na sajjate, and he does not become attached. Sajjate, sakta, asakta, they are all similar words, you can say, coming from the same root. He does not become attached. So a person who is in knowledge, tattva-vitta, O mighty arm, O Mahabaho, does not engage himself in the senses or sense gratification, guna guneshu vardanta, knowing well the difference between work in devotion and work for fruitive results, which refers to guna karma vibhagayoho. Okay, so we'll stop here. It's 9:15. We have done, I don't know how many verses, 8 verses today. I wanted to do more, again could not do, but that's all right. That's all right. Anyone has any question, a quick question? I can just take one. Sorry, 9:15. Just on the spot, sometimes we have a curiosity.
Krishna, Prabhuji, I think you referred the word akinchana.
Yes.
That's in Chaurashtakam. It's the third verse.
The one who becomes
the line if you have in front of you.
Yes.
Akinchani kritya padashritam ya karoti bhiksham.
Karoti bhiksham. That was karoti bhiksham. Krishna makes you beggar. I think the translation is proper. Yeah. So karoti bhiksham. That's what I was looking. Thank you, Mataji. It's coming next year, July 23. We'll have Push Chaurashtakam reading again. Anyway, so we'll stop here actually. It's 9:16 now. And if you have any questions, please write it. We'll do it next week.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama.